Hey, what's up? Let's talk about Mass Effect. And today I want to talk about the 2021 in 7 day celebration for Mass Effect and how it may clue us into what we're going to potentially get in 2023 just a little bit. I've been doing a review, kind of looking back at the 2020 trailer and the 2022 in 7 day. These are the majority of the info dumps that we've gotten about the next game. They are both kind of short in details, but also a lot more than I would expect to have from a game that is potentially as far away as it is. We are less than a month away from 2023's in 7 day, and so I thought it would be fun to kind of go through and look at all this stuff. And today we're looking at 2021, and it was a little lacking in any big announcements, but there was one thing that was really cool, and we will look at that. So first, let's get into the blog. And so they've been doing this every year and for quite a while, and this one was relatively uneventful. If you look back at it, this was the same year that the Legendary Edition came out for the Mass Effect trilogy. So most of this blog is kind of a celebration of that. And so as you go through here, you see that they have a bunch of fun little GIFs they posted. They have a lot of these stats, which really are fairly interesting and a bit surprising in some situations. And then you had the end here, where they talk a little bit about just what's going on moving forward, things like that. Ironically, Mac Walters is in here talking about it, who's no longer with BioWare. He has moved on to new ventures. But the last paragraph here is, we are, of course, hard at work on the next adventure in the Mass Effect universe. Until then, please accept our most humble thanks for you accompanying us on this journey. We know we couldn't do it without you on N7 Day or any other day. So I remember when this came out. So this was, I was starting to make content for Mass Effect. I was kind of getting into it. I had been really excited by the 2020 trailer. I had obviously, at this point, I think already played through the Legendary Edition like 3 or 4 times at least. And it was a little bit of like, I remember this coming out and everyone hyping up in 7 Day a lot. The announcement for the new game had come the previous December at the Game Awards, and I know everyone, I remember, oh, okay, we're gonna get a big info dump, and then this came out, and I remember being like, oh, okay, like I guess maybe it's not that exciting, and then they did this. And so on that day, I believe, and it has at 5 p.m. They tend to release these things at the end of their workday, which I think has been a pattern even last year. They posted, hey, we have another N7 Day surprise for you from the team working on the next Mass Effect. Thank you all for being the best fans in the world. And we were presented with this. It's kind of like a movie poster. In fact, you can't see it too well in my current lighting, but I have it right here. You were able to purchase it. That poster is a whole different story that maybe I'll revisit in like a short or something. But when that got posted, there is some possibility they actually leaked a bunch of information on accident about the next game, or at least preliminary information. But we'll get into that another time. That's not for this video. So they released this poster, and then down here they even gave a link to find the full-size version of it, which I have right here. So this is a 2600 by 3800 picture, so it's a very dense, this is a very large photo or piece of art, and let's talk about it a little bit. So the first thing that stands out to me, at least, is the obvious reference to the Geth, right? So we have this kind of the shape were kind of made by the crater, and this kind of brownish yellowish coloring, which is just obviously a Geth head, especially with this the circle here in the middle of the crater signifying their little flashlight thing, and then even the light effect that would come off of them being represented by these little lines here. So I have speculated pretty hard that I think the destroy ending is going to be made canon for the next game. And I've seen a lot of people have been like, look, but they reference the Geth. If the Geth are alive, it can't be destroy. I think there's more reason to believe the destroy still. And this it literally shows Geth being destroyed, and we'll get more into that in a moment. And so, my theory for a while has been that this next game will likely involve a race for AI, and one part of that race could be trying to resurrect the Geth, and that's what I think is being signaled here. But who knows? We're all just guessing. Some of the other interesting things that you notice on here is down at the bottom. This is kind of referential to the 2020 trailer. It says Mass Effect will continue. Something that is, I believe, somewhat notable here is the ship and these 4 figures, which we'll get way more into. This does have the SFX branding on it. That was the original code name for the first Mass Effect. One thing I think is kind of interesting here, as we start to dive into more detail, is the coloring on this ship, so keep that in mind. But the last thing I'll say about this greater overall picture here is these little tendrils. These it looks like almost like drainage or something like that. I've seen some people reference that looks, at least to them, looks a lot like, or references kind of the anomaly in the Andromeda universe, the dark energy, or the scourge, or whatever you want to call it. And that's a fair point. I actually don't disagree entirely. So while I believe this game is going to take place primarily in the Milky Way, I think even from the game's director, Mike Gamble, who worked on Andromeda, he's made it very clear that Andromeda is going to play a part in this next game in some capacity. So a reference there, maybe leading to more, is not that surprising. So let's zoom in. So as we get in here, I have kind of a zoomed in version of this photo here. And you scroll around, and so some people, if you look around, have done where they like manipulated some of the effects and stuff like that, and think that they've been able to point out a bunch of like random bodies and stuff laying around here. The only one I think is really clear is this one here, and to me, kind of just the shape of it is this looks like a dead Geth. That isn't that surprising, because this whole thing is obviously, at least to me, a reference to the Geth in general, and it kind of backs up what I was saying before about how I think this might be kind of trying to say, hey, Geth are dead, but they are going to be involved in some capacity. Now, as we scroll down, we see the ship. I've seen some people reference and say like, wow, that looks like the Andromeda ship. Like, I don't really think it does. What it does look like to me, though, is it's the same color scheme as the SR1, the original Mass Effect 1 Normandy. And I've seen various, which, to be fair, the Tempest has a similar color scheme in Andromeda. My whole thing, or my theory about this, is that during the Reaper War, which this game presumably is going to take place afterwards, most of the Alliance's ships, or at least many of them, would have been destroyed. And it's not completely impossible to believe or fathom that they could have basically brought back like retired or decommissioned spaceships from earlier in their fleet, and to me that's what this probably is. That's a wild theory based purely on my own speculation, but it kind of makes sense to me. This I actually think looks like an older design than the ships that we see in the original trilogy, and I think it'd be kind of a cool story of like, yeah, we had to pull this hunk of junk out. It's all we had. And because, we had to put some, redo its ESO core. And I feel like that could be kind of a fun thing for the next game for them to kind of throw at us. Now, what I think is kind of interesting here is to zoom in on these figures here. And what we have is the second reference to 4 party members. This is something that I think we're probably going to get in the next game. I bet we're going to run with 4 people instead of 3. In the 2020 trailer, we also see behind Liara, 3 more figures, which is a second, another reference to 4 characters. And even in some really old concept art that even has like an Angaran in it, there's 4 in theory. So who knows? We'll see. I think this has been one of my favorite things to see people debate, including myself, is what these creatures are. Even in the 2020 trailer, there's the Solarian and the Krogan, and then a human maybe wearing initiative armor. Well, that one I don't think is that controversial. This one I've seen people have all kinds of takes on. I think it's pretty much agreed upon that this figure on the left is a Krogan. What I think is maybe in some debate about it is that, man, that Krogan's wearing red armor, and we've seen lots of Krogan through the trilogy and through Andromeda, but one wearing red armor really points to Rex. It's kind of like how you can reference N7 in Mass Effect, and sure, there's lots of N7s canonically in the universe. But the one that we've really interacted with and dealt with was Shepard. And so if you reference N7, you're probably referencing Shepard. Just like if you show a Krogan in red battle armor, you're probably referencing Rex, but who knows? I have interpreted this individual in the front of the group as being an Asari or some kind of humanoid. The one in the middle here is the one I've seen people debate the most. Some people think this is like Ryder in a initiative outfit. I've never thought that. Again, we're getting into some really weird territory with trying to look too closely at figures that are this small. But since that's what the whole point of this video today, I interpret that middle one as a Turian. I think it looks like their big collar around here and kind of the skinny helmet, and even just the way that they walk with their weapons and stuff. And then the one I think is the most interesting is this bottom right one, where I've seen people say this is all kinds of stuff. What I see is a humanoid figure with a red stripe on their helmet right there. To me, this is clearly an N7. Is it Shepard or not? I don't know. But like I said before, it's one of those things where if they reference N7, it sure feels like they're referencing Shepard. So, there isn't too much more. I know that I've seen people really fiddle with some of the settings, and I think over here somewhere there's like the outline or a vague shape of something that says N7. That's probably getting pretty deep into the conspiracy hole. The last thing I will say is that if you look at what we got last year in 2022, where we got this image that was actually a video, something to notice, and I've seen other people point this out, is that you notice the color scheme here where it's like blue up here and then it turns into this brownish and it goes down and down. It is a similar color scheme here, which I do. I'm not smart enough to figure out if that's supposed to be symbolic or anything. It could just be them kind of establishing their color palette and kind of trying to show us maybe a little bit of the aesthetic of what this next game is going to be, or at least when they made this stuff where they were at in their head. So I won't try to interpret too much from that, but I do think it's kind of an interesting thing to point out. And as far as I know, that is me showing everything that I've seen people point out or speculate on. That seems like vaguely reasonable. I've seen some pretty wild stuff as well. We'll leave some of that to the people who, believe those things. So the 2021 N7 day was fairly uneventful. When it comes to speculating about the one that's coming up here in about a month, I'll make a whole different video on that. But my basic thoughts are, I suspect it's going to be a lot like 2022. I think we'll get some concept art. I think we'll get some vague paragraphs about what they're working on, and I think we'll get like a little trailer or like a developer interview, or we'll get some kind of media. I'm not expecting like a full subtitle reveal yet. I'm not expecting to find out when the game takes place, if Shepard's coming back, or if anyone is coming back, if it's going to be mostly in the Milky Way or Andromeda. Like, I'm not expecting any of those big answers yet. Dragon Age Dreadwolf still isn't out, and that really is their focus right now. It's the game they're actually producing, where the next Mass Effect is still in pre-production from what we've been most recently told a couple months ago. And so I suspect that the end 7 day 2023 is going to be like more than 2021, but probably similar to 2022, where nothing revelatory, nothing to really lose your mind over, but probably enough for me and some of the other content creators to figure out a way to recycle for a year. So we'll have to hope for that, so I can start making videos about the same stuff, even though I do honestly really enjoy it. So that's kind of what I have for this one. So I did just get partnered on YouTube. So if you want to join as a member or buy some merch or do whatever, that's really cool. You don't have to. It's totally fine. What I would really appreciate is if you would subscribe to the channel, like this video if you did, and leave a comment down below. All of those things help this video get noticed. And I just like hearing from you. So let me know what you think about all this stuff. If you have different theories, or if you agree with mine, or what you think we're going to get in this year's in 7 day. You can find me all over the internet as Bond Diesel, including over on Twitch, where I stream a couple times a week, but I multi-stream, and so you can catch that here on YouTube as well, whichever one you prefer. And I do have a weekly podcast called the Bonfire Podcast, which is a weekly gaming news kind of recap, some reviews, some speculation, kind of whatever the topic is that week. I talk about for 45 minutes to an hour, and it's a fun little project I've been doing. We're over 250 episodes now, so come on over, check that out. I would love to get your comments on that as well. That's all I have for this one, so until next time.